Hallo und herzlich willkommen zur dritten Folge von Suzerain Staffel 2 zusammen mit Apfel.
Hallo.
Letzte Folge haben wir mit Lucian geredet. Und heute machen wir unsere Current Economics Situation. Oh, 3 neue Gesichter. Simon, Gus und Lailia. Gut, wer spricht wen?
Ich nehme mal Simon.
Dann bin ich Gus.
Sagen wir noch Lailia. Ja, dann
Ja.
mich ja auch noch. Weil du listest dich selber ja auch noch.
Ja, genau. Simon Hall, Gus Mancher, and Lailia Graf were about to arrive at the White Room for our scheduled economy meeting. This was the room in the Maroon Palace where all important meetings were held. Two assistants arrived first, carrying a heavy projector. They stood with it by the door, waiting for the ministers to enter. From the hallway, I heard Lailia Graf's voice. She was using the patient, almost motherly tone she often took in heated arguments.
Gus, do you really think that such an economically advanced area is more in need of investment than England? Oh, nicht England.
Lailia, my interior minister, strolled in. She was clad in shades of brown and beige. The only spot of color, a bright yellow Norris star on her necklace. Gus followed close behind. Don't be an idiot, Lailia. What about the unemployment crisis the Greater Holsalt and Gelsland regions are going through? These areas are our economic heartland. Gus curled his hands into fists. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development's temper hadn't changed since his days in the Alfonso administration, but neither had his reputation for getting things done. His far-reaching network of connections was unlike any other. Simon Hall quickly stepped between the two ministers without looking at either of them. He cleared his throat.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, everyone. How
Wir
are
gehen
you?
nicht drauf ein. I'm very well and motivated, Mr. Rainey. It seems our ministers are feeling the same.
Just as expected. How is it going, Gus and Lailia? I can clearly see that. What was that discussion about? Great to hear. Let's begin. Ja, 1.
Ja.
It's looking good, sir. Although there seems to be a lot of work that requires attention. Especially about lifting people out of poverty. Certainly a challenge.
I'm feeling fairly confident about the current state of affairs. We've already begun restructuring local governments and introducing new safety measures. Off to a good start.
Good. I'm confident in your abilities. If there's anything you need help with, reach out to me. Ja, machen wir 2. Of course, Mr. President.
Good to know.
Gut, wir schlagen uns jetzt schon mal nicht auf eigene Seite.
Ja.
Das ist schon mal nicht schlecht.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I would like to show you the latest economic situation.
Simon pulled a silk handkerchief out of his pocket and briefly wiped his glasses.
My staff and I have comprehensively analyzed every aspect of...
He was interrupted by a groan from one of the assistants by the door, both of whom were now visibly struggling to hold up the heavy projector.
Oh, you can put that there.
He pointed below the painting of President Sol. The assistants placed the projector next to the table and installed a wide screen on the wall.
Leave now. I mean, thank you and please leave now.
The assistants left the cabinet room. I was reminded that Simon had never quite had a way with people, but his facility with numbers had made him the most sought-after economic specialist in Southland. Simon started looking for his slides. He always carried documentation around with him. Ja.
Wait.
Leah lawned on the table and spoke.
Simon, what happened to the new police station construction in Estod?
While going through his briefcase, he paused for a moment to answer.
It got stalled due to a government property boundary issue. I've been meaning to look at it. I can take a look at that one. Estod needs all the security help it can get. Sure, more time for me to spend on analysis.
Simon. His eyes glittered when he finally found the slides he was looking for.
There have been some developments about the Suzerain losing further value today. We've been trying to stabilize it with the central bank.
The recession of 51 put enormous pressure on the economy, resulting in the collapse of the value of our currency. The entire situation was a significant cause of concern for our administration.
What would you like to know about the current economic situation?
What is our GDP and debt situation? What is our unemployment and inflation rate? What is the status of recession? Wir gehen alles durch.
Yeah. Our current GDP is at 310 billion Swedish yen and the national debt is 427 billion. God.
It's still hard to fathom that we lost nearly 150 billion in wealth the past 3 years, but tough. Ich habe da jeden Punkt überlesen. What is our unemployment and inflation rate?
Unemployment has skyrocketed and is now at a staggering 60%, and the inflation is at a relative high of 7%. Unemployment is increasing crime and drug use. We need to get people off the streets. The inflation isn't helping our average citizen either.
What is the status of the recession?
The economy has been in a recession about minus 60% in the past year. The average GDP has dropped from
Swedish yen.
50.454. Ne, ist es sind es 15.000 oder 15,454?
1000.
1000. Per capita to, ich sage jetzt einfach nur SR 10,359 from 1951 to now.
Warum sagst du nicht. Also, warum sagst du das SR davor? Auch wenn es davor geschrieben ist, es gehört dahinter. Du sagst ja auch nicht Euro 15.000.
Weiß ich, ja.
Es ist komisch.
Du schreibst es dahinter, im Englischen davor, mein Gott.
Ja, aber du sagst es ja nicht davor trotzdem.
This administration's success depends on our ability to stop the recession. The sooner we can reach GDP growth, the better.
I have all the information needed. Let's move on the economic strategy. Simon scattered the paper stack in front of him in an orderly manner and took a final look at his notes before clearing his throat.
As you can see, the situation is alarming, but not everything is negative. The extensive privatization program of Afonso left us a large budget surplus which we can use to stabilize the crisis. The primary subject we need to settle on is what general path we will take in our term. So, Solonomics-based nationalization happened in the 30s, and Alfonso's privatization began during the end of the 40s. What will our administration focus on? One of our main promises was to promote a planned economy to stop the recession. To be frank, I still don't think this was a good idea.
We shouldn't go back to Solonomics. It is the reason of the recession.
Self-sufficiency will help us in tough times.
Simon ignored the statement. Economic systems without regulation are bound to fail. What are the consequences of the free market? The more of the economy we control, the better we can manage the recession. What are the downsides of the planned economy?
Ja, was
Ja.
der Downsides, oder?
Genau.
Dann wirst du
Also,
was zu tun haben.
Genau.
It is clear that most of the state corporations and other government-controlled systems are less efficient. The government of Swortland and its institutions or corporations have solid history of delivering. The structural problems of Solonomics were going to lead to a recession according to the predictions at the time anyway. Either way, even if we pick one of the doctrines, we retain the option to make economic choices on a case-by-case basis. That is, however, not recommended in my point of view. The last thing we need is a chaotic economic plan.
Finally something we can both agree on, Dalia.
Wir doch diesen einen Kommentar dazu werfen.
Ja,
There's another important point which has a direct impact on our economy. Superpowers. Das sieht so dumm an. We might have won the election, but I'm still against aligning ourselves with any superpowers. Economically speaking, we are much more closer to Acacia than United Container, so the decision to align to the West makes more sense. Aha.
mal gemacht, easy.
Yeah. We must be very cautious. There are schemes being devised about Swortland. We cannot give in to their wants now or in the future. Otherwise, our country will turn into a pawn. I want you to reconsider your promise to align with Acacia.
Hä? Wait.
Hä?
Okay, Simon ist dafür und sie dagegen. I've made a promise to the people of Swortland. I won't back down. Don't worry, I won't let Acacia control Swortland. Entering the sphere of Acacia will help boost our economy in many ways. They are wealthy and influential. You may be right. Let's see what the future brings. Okay, 2 oder 3.
Beides ist gut.
Ja. Aber was ist besser?
Ich glaube 3, weil 2 ist halt so, ja, das lasse ich nicht zu, Punkt, aber 3, da hast du halt noch die Pros dazu, warum es halt besser ist,
Das stimmt.
den was zu machen.
Also 3.
Vielleicht akzeptiert sie die Gründe dann.
Ich glaube nicht, aber wir können es versuchen.
Nee, sie sowieso nicht.
Nee. Exactly. I like to think of it as a very valuable partnership. With the deals we will get by aligning ourselves with a strong country like Acacia, recession would surely end in no time.
Turn for what? Swortland's independence?
Jetzt hör auf zu heulen, meine Fresse.
Echt so. When the time comes, I hope you will make the right decision. For our own good.
Simon cleared his throat again.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Minister Whiskey will be in charge of informing you on those types of foreign policy decisions. We must first decide on our internal economic plan.
Simon put forward a legal document outlining the possibilities with both economic doctrines listed. The cabinet members looked at me. We have to thank Sol and his planned economy for the boom. It clearly shows the success of the system. Let's finish what Alfonso started with the capitalist free market reforms. His path was going to enrich Swortland. Will a planned economic focus bring us stronger allies? What in our long-term economic schedule?
Keines der ersten beiden, glaube ich, nehmen.
Keines? Oder eines?
Keines, wir wissen nicht, wie
Okay.
die zu den Alten stehen. Nicht, dass da, keine Ahnung, 2 dafür sind, einer dagegen, dann haben wir da wieder Stress.
Okay. Also 3 oder 4. Ich will eher 4 sagen.
Ja. Mal schauen wir, was wir jetzt zu tun haben. Picking a construction company, trade relations, tax reform, and welfare privatization or nationalization initiatives would be some of them.
Ja, wie viele Wörter, also wie viele gleiche Wortsilben will man bitte in einem Satz verwenden? Simon, ja. We must choose wisely and remember that a free market economy in all forms is the future of the world.
I wouldn't be so sure.
Okay, would a planned economy focus bring us stronger allies?
It would make United Contender diplomatically look at our country in a more positive light. They're proponents of the planned economy. The influence Acacia has on the world economy is extensive. Our economic strategy should be based on internal reasoning, though.
Okay, das ist schwierig.
Okay, wir müssen
Anscheinend ist eine
also-
planned economy eher kommunistisch. Sprich, wir sollten eigentlich auf den Free Market gehen.
Ja, weil das ist, glaube ich, auch das, wo der, wie ist das,
Yes.
Right Wing, mit dem wir uns zusammentun wollten.
Also, ja, genau. Und es sind halt Lalia und Simon dafür. Nur Gus halt
also,
nicht.
ja, also 2/3. Und Simon und Lalia gegen uns ist, glaube ich, die größere Gefahr als Gus.
Red nicht so schlecht über Gus.
The recession was the direct result of his free market reforms.
History must note that the reason of the recession was because evil Alfonso was betrayed by his party.
This is not true. There was plenty of time for him to do it. If you can't make change happen in 2 years, then you are at fault.
Let's move on.
What are your final thoughts then, Mr. President?
Critical institutions must remain in state control. We must be fully responsible in delivering services. We should look at opportunities like privatization to create financial resources. A market economy doesn't require as much guidance and could help us attract foreign capital. It is hard to fully agree or disagree with these options.
Ich schon mal nicht.
4 nicht, ne. Ich würde fast 2 sagen.
Ja. This is exactly my mentality.
Sehr schön.
There are many possibilities that are waiting, like education or health privatization. It would be better to promote the market economy for these to have consistency in our plan. So, what will our general economic plan promote? Ja, Free Market dann.
Wir haben halt Planned Economy. Ja, Free Market.
Ja, aber ich glaube, das Free Market ist gleich besser. I can't say that I agree with this.
Lalia looked displeased.
Now that there's clarity on which direction we are heading, I will work on a good plan accordingly. This concludes our meeting. At our next gathering, we will talk about the upcoming infrastructure investment plan. Oh nein.
Yay!
Yay,
Now that,
Abfahrt.
now that the economic direction was taken, the ministers disposed for lunch at the Maroon Palace. Sehr schön, haben wir das auch gemacht.
Right.
Gott, dann bin ich schlecht. Scheiße da.
Geister.
Aber dann würde ich sagen, was ist mit der Folge? Lasst uns ein Like und ein Abo, wenn es euch gefallen hat. Schaut beim nächsten Mal vorbei. Und tschüss.
Tschüss.